Hey guys, Gamo Casino here again at Rich Creek. Today we have a very special guest, Wilmer. He's our HVAC contractor. These guys just don't get enough credit. They basically have to make sure all your house is heating and cooling properly. Have to make sure they're meeting all their codes. And on top of that, they're installing all the exhaust fans, your vent hood. And so we got them today to talk a little bit on what's going on here at Rich Creek at the HVAC rough stage. Come join us. So today I have with me Wilmer. He's our HVAC contractor for many of our homes. Wilmer, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how long you've been doing it?
Yeah, for sure. Like he said, my name is Wilmer Martinez. I'm owner and founder of WM Heating and Cooling. I have been in this trade for almost a decade now. Luckily for us, we have been working for you for a little bit over a year now. Very happy with you guys, doing a great job. Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to work with you guys. And today we're going to be showing you a little bit of what the rough of the HVAC system will look, how it will work, some of the steps that we take to make it better. And I guess we'll start from there.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Come on inside.
All right.
So how about we start up there because it's getting hotter, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And
we can start checking the systems out,
yeah,
and we can come down.
All right, cool. So we're here in the attic. Tell us a little bit about the ductwork here, what you're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Here in the city of Austin, you guys will be required with an R8 duct. R8 means that you have a 2-inch insulation.
And that's a 2-inch for every big duct or small
2-inch
duct?
for every duct. You can get away with using R6 in the return side here in Austin, but we always do R8. Bigger insulation or better insulation will never hurt the system. It will actually be more efficient and work better for you guys.
So that's one thing you do for quality. Even though the minimum is 6, you're going 8.
Yeah, we always go above and beyond. Pricing difference of the R6 and R8 duct is not much, so we always use only R8.
So I'm just looking here, like there's some smaller size ducts, some bigger size ducts. Can you tell us why maybe some of these are bigger?
Usually you only have 1 or 2 returns per house. Depending on the contractor, some require an extra return duct in each room, others don't. So other contractors, what they do is they do a 2-inch gap underneath the doors. That way it serves like a return or transfer air to remove the humidity from the room. Here in Rivendale construction, what we do, we run a big duct to even a hallway, sometimes the living room, and then from there we branch to each room an extra duct. That way the humidity is directly into the system and the return system.
So you mentioned humidity twice.
Yeah.
How important is humidity control here in Texas or just in general for your home?
So the humidity here in Texas, you know, it's brutal. When you guys build or any contractor builds a house that is like spray foam, the house becomes like more humid because there is less oxygen inside the house. The way we control it is by bringing oxygen or fresh air from outside the house to the inside of the house, which that one is controlled by that damper right there behind you. Let me give you an example here. So when you do a spray foam house, there is less to no oxygen inside the house. That basically works as a refrigerator in your house. If you guys notice, when you pull the stuff out of the refrigerator, the plastic jugs or glass inside the refrigerator has a little bit of sweat into it.
Yeah.
So if we don't bring oxygen to a spray foam house, what's going to happen? You're going to start seeing your mirrors sweating, all the glass, sometimes even the walls. So in order to fix it, that's where we bring the fresh air. So it brings air from outside the house to the return system. Again, no harm on that.
So this vent here is basically just going to the outside on top of the roof.
Correct,
and that's getting some fresh air into your system, especially if we use spray foam. So we have a really sealed house envelope where it basically means how it's insulated.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. So this directly into the system.
Yeah, and then again, no harm on it because doesn't mean that it's bringing stuff from the outside. It's going to go into your air system. We have here the filter, so the air from the outside is going to get filtered as well.
This filter here is a Honeywell home filter. And can you talk a little bit about this filter, because it's bigger than a lot of our homes have one of these bigger filters. Why is that?
So basically this is called a media filter. Again, they come in different sizes and measurements. We like to use the Honeywell. It is a 4-inch thick filter. Once the house is clean after construction, these filters will be good for up to 6 months. Again, it depends on how many pets you have. You can always check the filter. If it's good, just leave it for a couple more months. If not, just replace it.
It affects like pets because they bring in
The pets usually they bring more dust from the outside,
and that gets into the air.
The system is always breathing all the dust and all that stuff.
Also, just a note here, our systems here, I see this kind of like an upgrade. Some older homes have multiple filters, or this one only has one. Why is that?
It's a lot easier for the technician just to come here into the attic. We don't have to be like walking into the house, bringing ladders, scratching your walls. Just come here, swap this filter, and just put the new one in. Because sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes the returns are in high ceilings. You have to bring a ladder. You have to be careful with the walls, be careful with the furniture.
It makes it easier just for everybody, for the homeowner and for you. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about the system here, man. I know you got it sitting up on blocks here. Why do you do that, and why it's so important to have this pan here?
Okay, that's a great question. So if you can pull the camera here to the system so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we'll be talking specifically about these blocks right here and then this tray.
Yeah. So again, guys, sorry, we're just in the finishing process of the roof in this house. So back in the day, and you can still see that some contractors, they use cinder blocks, sometimes bricks, sometimes they build wood platforms to hold the units. You can also see sometimes that they hang the wall from the trusses in the roof. There's no right or wrong. This is the best that works for us. We like to use the foams because they absorb the vibration of the system. In the future, that will help with ceiling cracks, sheetrock cracking. You can start seeing like the little screws in the sheetrock. So since the foam absorbs the vibration, we have noted with the pass of the years that it works better for us.
So basically what you're saying is when your system is running, it's actually going to be moving a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so this foam blocks absorb some of that movement.
Yeah, especially when they stop and when they start, because when the system starts, it pushes like a big amount of air, so that's going to create like some movement into the unit, and the same when it stops.
And there's also condensation, right?
For sure.
And that's one of the reasons it's also lifted, I assume. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
There's no requirement of how many inches you need from the unit to the ground, the platform, if it's in a closet or not. We try to put it as high as possible because it's easier for us to seal from the bottom.
More workability, right?
Yeah, for sure. So whenever we have the room, we do it like that. Sometimes we have to do 6 inches, sometimes 4 inches from the ground, depending on how much space we have between the roof and the equipment. Another great question that you asked is about the drain pan. This is called a secondary drain pan. These systems and all of the HVAC systems, they will condensate water into another primary drain pan that is inside the unit. With time, dust starts to create some slush inside the pipe, and that's where you start having some clog issues with the drain line. Here in Austin, there are many different ways that you could do this, and I could get into that in a little bit. But for how our systems work, or the way we like to do it, is that we like to always, this is the primary drain line, we like to put a secondary flow switch here in the secondary drain line, and then we like to do another flow switch in the secondary drain pan.
And what's the point of the float switch?
So basically, if the primary drain line gets clogged, what's going to happen, the flow switch, it has a flow like the word says. If the water pushes up the flow, it's going to cut the power for the equipment.
Okay.
So we always like to go a step further, and that's why we use the secondary flow switch in the drain pan. If for any reason this one's failed, this is going to have the other flows, which is going to cut the power as well.
Essentially, if it fails, then there's actual water dripping.
The water from the equipment is going to fall into the drain pan.
Yeah.
If you don't have the drain pan, what's going to happen is you're going to have water all over your ceilings, walls, flooring.
So basically, you have almost 3, right? You have the main drain, then you have a sensor, basically, that will stop the system.
Yep.
If that doesn't respond, then this one on the pan will essentially stop it. But that's ultimately, you want to stop it because it also stops the water, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's basically such an issue.
Yeah.
And let's fix it before, we move forward. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that people wire the flow switch. Sometimes they wire it just where the outside condenser will stop, but this one will keep running. The way we like to do it is we connect the flow switch directly to the thermostat. So what's going to happen whenever the flow switch has water, cuts the power of the thermostat, then you have a problem. It doesn't matter if you put batteries in the thermostat or whatnot. The thermostat might come on, but the system will not.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
One question I had, these have to get cleaned out every couple months as well, right?
Yeah.
What do you put in there? What do you recommend?
A lot of people like to use vinegar, some to use bleach.
So put it like here, right?
This is the pipe where you can put some vinegar or bleach. Never use both because they create like a chemical reaction.
How much do we put in there?
You can put a couple of ounces, 4 or 5 every month or so during the summer. That helps to wash and clean.
Okay. I always thought it was a smaller amount, but it's like a good amount in there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. And you talked a lot about like sealing, and I see some of this gray stuff here. It almost looks like tape, but you also have it around the ducts and the roof. What is that, and how does that help you?
This is called sealant. In our world, we call it mastic. It comes in different colors, gray, white, black. We like to use gray because it pretty much matches all the equipment. And then we always, if you see, we have like straight lines. We'll always tape around, make it look cleaner.
Yeah, check this out. Right? He's really not exaggerating. Look how straight this line is of mastic, man. That's really good work. That almost looked like it came with it.
Yeah.
But you're applying that on site, right?
Yeah, we applied that on site. It takes a couple more hours to tape and take the tape out, but I think that gives the unit a little bit more aesthetic.
No, it looks good. Good quality work. You can really tell like you're doing good quality work just by the way you're sealing stuff.
So the way this, you need to seal the ducts as well. This is something required nowadays in Austin. So the way that the duct is composed, it has an inner liner, then it has the insulation, and then it has this aluminum or foil around it. So the way that they are connected is in the inner liner. You put duct seal in it, you put the duct in the collar, then you strap it with a zip tie, then you roll insulation inside with the outer liner, and then you put another zip tie in it. In order to have a good seal, then you have to coat it with the duct sealant or mastic. That's something that is required here in Austin as well. That's the way to do it here.
Yeah, I was just thinking here in Austin, and that's so important because it's so hot all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't want any air escaping.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And again, pretty much the same as having some sweat inside the house. If you don't seal the outer liner here, you're gonna start seeing water coming out of the duct as well. That's going to create some mold even inside the system.
Yeah, that's actually a good tip too. Because whenever you come up here to change your filter every 6 months, look at the ductwork. Make sure that you have everything like that's going to go a long way. So we talk a lot about cooling a house, right? How are you heating it?
There's a bunch of different ways to heat a house. Sometimes natural gas, propane, electric. In this case, a heat pump. Nowadays here in Austin, they're either requiring a gas furnace or heat pumps. What a heat pump is, it's pretty much like an electric air handler. What's going to happen, it's going to have electric heat, but its main source of heat will be the condenser outside. So a heat pump, what it does, it has like a reversing valve inside the unit. That reversing valve, instead of keeping the heating or the hot vapor in the coil for the condenser, it pushes that hot vapor inside the house, and that's your main source of heat.
And you said that's from the condenser?
Yeah.
How does that from the condenser get to here so it can go throughout the house?
Okay, so basically it's with the refrigerant flow. It's these pipes which are not connected again because we're in the finishing process of this.
We're still wrapping it up, but you see here these big old copper lines here.
Yeah.
I bet these are pricey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But that you're saying is basically a conduit to get heat inside the house.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So these lines, it's where the refrigerant run that will serve for cooling and for heating. So the only thing you're changing is the flow of the refrigerant. If either you're gonna keep the hot vapor outside or inside. Whenever you're using a heat pump and temperatures go below 25 degrees outside, you have to switch for the emergency heat, which are the electric elements that are inside the unit. Those are electric because the heat pump system, whenever the temperature is below 25 degrees, the unit outside will freeze up. Then it goes into a defrost mode, and then you will not have efficient heating system inside your house. Why? Because the unit is freezing, unfrozen, freezing, unfreezing. In order to eliminate that, then you come to the emergency heat,
which will turn it on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just a side note, your systems here are going to be insulated. Obviously, this is a roof, so we'll have foam insulation up here. Do you think there's a benefit of having it within your envelope? Some people, or sometimes it's put outside in the garage or something like in the garage attic. What is the difference? Is there pros and cons to that?
Yeah, definitely. Pros, you're going to have a longer lasting equipment ductwork
inside
the attic or inside the envelope of spray foam, like you said. It's going to help as well to the efficiency of the system, because then you have an enclosed system. You're not going to have like heat or cold inside the ducts in the equipment either. So the most issues that you may have in a house where it doesn't have spray foam is that the ducts, they start to become brittle with the years. So the life of the duct will be between 20 to 30 years depending where the house, if a house has spray foam around it or around the ducts, they will last more like 40-50 years.
Wow, that's actually...
because the duct system is not getting any source of heat at all.
So that's a good tip for designers and for custom homeowners. Do the best possible to have your system inside the insulated envelope.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's a great tip.
So basically there's no right or wrong insulation that you can go with it, but even though spray foam is going to be a little bit more expensive in the short run, in the long run you're going to spend way less money on repairing systems, energy costs, because the hotter the house gets, the more the AC has to run. So whenever you have spray foam, the house doesn't have any heat at all. So it's gonna run less, so it's gonna save you more energy.
That's a great tip. Homes nowadays are having insulation, like foam insulation, and there's really not a lot of fresh air coming in. Can you tell us a little bit how you're solving that problem?
There are a couple of things, and people sometimes get mistaken with what is makeup air, fresh air. So like we're talking earlier, the fresh air, it's the duct that brings the oxygen for the system itself. That way the house doesn't get as humid. So then we have the makeup air.
Makeup air, okay.
So that's pretty much like for the kitchen. Whenever you have the vent hood for the kitchen that passes the mark of 400 CFM, it is required by the city of Austin to have something to bring air as well from the outside of the house.
That's a good note. Here in Austin, a lot of people like to cook. They might have a commercial grade vent hood that has higher capacity.
It is getting like very normal having houses with 600, 800 CFM, which that's a vent hood pretty much used for a restaurant. But there are plenty to houses, big kitchens, make it look nice. So in order to bring oxygen from outside the house or air from outside of the house, what we do, we put a vacuum kit that goes in the vent that's run on low voltage only. What that does, it opens, whenever you turn on your vent hood, it will create a vacuum, and then your contacts are going to touch each other, and that's what's going to open a damper to bring oxygen from the outside of the house. So now how it works is pretty much, we have this box here. Again, this box is separate, but it has a filter as well here. This will need to be cleaned or swapped every 2 months, 3 months, depending on how much you use the vent.
And that filter can just be purchased online?
Yeah, purchase online.
For stuff. Okay, cool. So this is, I haven't seen the filter up here.
Yeah.
That's is that an upgrade or what?
This is how it was done before. Yeah. It was just a damper similar to the first one that we were talking earlier. It's not right or wrong either. Yeah. This one is way easier because everything is inside. You have the damper, you have the filter, and it's a lot nicer. How we used to do it, we bought the damper, bought a filter box, and it make it look a little bit more not so great. But this is something new.
Cool, awesome.
We're installing all the house now, so that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, because in the past it would be in your kitchen.
Yep.
And you would have to get a ladder out. And
the bad thing with that is that all the dirt, bugs, and everything is going to stay on top of the filter. So whenever you was going to change the filter, all of that was going to fall in the floor, kitchen, all that stuff.
And it's also taking up other gases like your food gases and stuff like that.
Grease and all that stuff.
All right, awesome. Okay, so that's basically for your kitchen. And you say that it turns on whenever you turn on your vent hood.
Yeah, so we run the duct that goes into the kitchen as closest as we can to the stove. The reason why is because you're always bringing air from the outside of the house. In winter it might be cold, but in summer it's super hot. So you don't want like the whole house having all that hot air inside the house, if I may. So what you want to do is just put the vent near the stove where it recirculates the air quicker. So in theory, how this works is just to not suck all the cold air in the summer from inside of the house. Because whenever you have a high CFM vent hood, it pushes or pulls all of the air from inside of the house. So that's what you don't want. So how it works, you turn on the stove, the damper opens, and since we put it pretty much closer to the stove, it circulates the air and it goes back outside. That way the temperature inside the house, it's pretty much the same all the time.
Yeah, because it might affect the temperature of that area.
Yep.
Okay, great. That's very insightful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure.
So in the attic, we're talking about the makeup air, talking about your vent hood, CFMs.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about it more here? We're right underneath where the cooktop's going to be. The cooktop's going to be right here.
Yep.
It's going to be a big kitchen. They're going to have a vent hood that's high on CFM.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I think it was like somewhere 600, 800 CFM over this house. The makeup air kit that we were showing you earlier, it's pretty much this duct right here, or this vent. So like he was saying, this is going to be your vent hood here. We always try to put the vent as close as possible and actually in line with the vent hood as well. That way it doesn't look too bad. So what's going to happen is that the makeup air kit is going to open, so all the hot air is going to come straight down and back to the outside. That way you're not like removing air from inside of the house to the outside.
So how does the vent hood talk to that?
So pretty much there's going to be another pipe coming from this one down. The reason why we left it like that is because you guys are going to have the ceiling first and the cabinet. Then we have to come and do another pipe coming down. So this pipe here is going to have a transformer and it's going to have a vacuum switch as well. So whenever you guys turn on the vent hood, that pressure switch is going to activate, and that's what's going to open the makeup air.
Okay, so you can have a sensor there. It's not installed yet because we're not there yet.
It's pretty much like a sensor.
Yeah, okay, cool. And that's going to open it up, which is very important because you only want that really to open when you actually use it.
Yeah.
All right, and so if it gets here, you install that later. And what is your process after that? After we have the vent hood here, you connect it yourself. I know you've done that many times.
Yeah, for sure. Pretty much the guys that provide, let's say, the vent hood or the appliances are the ones who install the vent hood. Then we come and do the connections for the Code of Austin. It has to have foil tape around it, and it has to have some duct sealant as well. And then we put the pressure switch or sensor to the makeup air kit.
I just really love that because you're taking responsibility for the whole thing.
Yeah,
from here to there to back here, to the vent hood. And your job's not done. Once the vent hood's done, you still gotta come back and seal it. Yeah. So you have a complete closed system that you're directing the whole time.
Yeah, so pretty much it's a complete system. We have a really good team. We like to work together. And then the other thing is we like things to be nice. Like my father used to say, if it looks nice, it probably is nice. So that's how we want to roll.
For sure. I used to have a coach that said, if you look good, you play good. It's looking good.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the laundry room.
Yeah, for sure.
I wanted to ask you a few questions about the dryer vent.
Okay.
This isn't your home's dryer vent. This is something a little bit more upgraded. Traditional dryer vents usually have a circular duct coming out the wall.
Correct.
It's tough to install your...
Pretty much, it's going to be your same pipe, same duct. It's going to be a 4-inch. So back in the day, what they used to do, they run the same duct and then they bring a 90.
Like an elbow.
Or an elbow, yeah. So what's that going to create? It doesn't give you room to bring the pipe for the dryer to connect to this duct. So we like to use this box because as you see, the box go all the way inside the wall. So you connect the pipe from the dryer here and then you connect the pipe to the dryer in the bottom. So that gives you the ability of pushing the dryer completely to the wall without leaving any gaps here. If you have the elbow going outside, then you have to leave like 6-7 inches from the wall.
Yeah. So this, I guess, where you have your dryer, this is actually more intuitive because then you can just connect it here.
Yep.
And you just push in your
It's
dryer
a lot
forward.
easier.
Where in the past, it will come out and you would have to do this, connect it, do this dance with shaking it. And it doesn't really, you don't want to press it too bad because you don't want to damage the elbow.
It kinks the pipe for dryer.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know you've been doing this as a standard in our home, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, again, it's a lot easier to push the dryer for the client. At the end, it just looks better in your dryer room or in the laundry room. Why? Because whenever you don't have that box, the dryer is going to stay like 6-7 inches more than your washer. Then, since you don't want to see like the washer and dryer all twisted up, you're going to pull the washer and then you're going to have a big gap.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, they used to have a cabinet or whatnot, but nowadays, everything is just to make it look nicer. So you stick everything as close up to the wall as possible.
And that's the gap of death right there. Socks fall in, soles, all this kind of stuff.
A lot of dust.
A lot of dust, it's not very sanitary. So this is just an easy way to just avoid all that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
A lot of things too that when we talk about heating and cooling, sometimes we forget that you also install all the exhaust fans.
Yeah, correct.
What type are you using?
So these are Braun 80 to 120 CFMs What this does, whenever you're in the laundry room,
Yeah.
you turn the exhaust fan on, and all the heat from the washer dryer, it pushes it out. The same as the bathrooms. Bathrooms is more useful like for all the humidity between the hot water and the cold air going into the house. If you are in a bathroom and you start seeing like mold or around the vent of the AC, that means that either the exhaust fan is not getting on, it's not turning on, or it is too small for the room as well.
It's too small.
Yeah.
So that you would need a
Correct.
Okay. And that just gets me thinking, like, whenever you come out here and lay all the ducts, you're not just randomly putting ducts and stuff like that.
No.
Tell us a little bit more about the process of how you come up with that.
Yeah, we as HVAC contractors, we're not only coming to the house and just deciding this room is going to have this size of duct, or this one is going to have this size of duct. There's a math equation to do all this. Nowadays, it's a lot easier. You just put the measurements in a computer, and that tells you how many CFMs you need into the room. There is something more precise than just that equation, which is the manual J is pretty much the same as doing the math and the equation. But what the manual J does, it takes in value the windows you have, the hotter part of the house, and that sometimes fluctuates on whether that room is a little bit hotter than the other one. Or let's say, for example, if you have a room in, let's say, the east part of the house, 10/8-inch duct, but the east side is the coldest part of the house, then you may have the same room in the west side, but that's where the sun comes. Then instead of an 8-inch, you may need a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
So that's where the manual J comes in handy.
That's to me, it's just how much work it comes into the design part.
Yeah.
That we don't think about as builders a lot, or homeowners. But that's precisely right. Just because it's the same square footage, you gotta take account. You were mentioning windows, ceiling heights. If it's maybe a higher ceiling, you might need more. Or the one that is rarely thought about is skylights as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
How beautiful skylight could actually affect the way that you're heating and cooling it.
And there's something else that we like to do. Let's say, for example, if a room needs an 8-inch duct, we always like to go an inch bigger. Why? Because probably this house, let's say in a 10, 15 years, it might get remodeled. And they might extend the room 2 or 3 more feet to make it look bigger and make an office or whatnot. So then you will not have to change the duct going into that room. So that saves you a little bit of money in the future. The other thing, we are allowed to do that because we use dampers in each duct as well. So what that does, even it's a bigger duct, doesn't mean that you're going to have more CFMs, because it's going to be controlled by that damper as well.
So we're going to a certain CFM.
So then that damper, whenever the system is on, we graduate it for the CFMs that the room needs.
Could you, on that damper, potentially raise it now that you have a bigger capacity, the CFMs?
So since it's a bigger one, well, we reduce it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a lot that I think we just got to, whenever we're building homes and designing, really got to get you in early. You got to get the HVAC guy that knows how to cool your home early in the process. That way we can make better decisions. It almost sounds like per room basis.
Oh yeah, definitely. So there's something that we were talking about behind the scenes, that you asked me about the placements of the vents. There is, again, not wrong or right place to put a vent in. We like to do it as in the center as possible. We like to leave somewhere between 6 to 8 inches, depending on how wide or how long is the room. But we always try to do like the middle part of the room, that way it looks nicer. Or between lights. Sometimes you have 4 lights in a room in each corner. So we always like to look for that middle part of the room where the vent will look nicer.
Oh, that's great. So also not only cooling, but you're also thinking the aesthetic.
Oh yeah,
how it's going to look at the end.
No, at the end of the day, you're paying millions of dollars for these houses, and just for a simple thing that might take you, I don't know, maybe 5 more minutes to measure each room, you're gonna have a more pleasant or more nicer looking house.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what we do.
What are some tips that maybe you can give a homeowner on that they should be looking at whenever they're at this stage of construction, installing their ductwork?
So they need to make sure what size of duct is the correct one for each house.
Yeah.
And then the other thing will be, when the rough part of the house, it's where you want to make some changes to the house. So you don't want to have your house all painted up, all the furniture in, and then you say, okay, I don't like this light here. We're going to switch it. Then you have to patch it again, paint again. Electrician needs to come in, and everything becomes more expensive and more laborious. I mean.
Yeah, so, there's a good Navy SEAL saying, and it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes slowing down is really going to be the best way that you can save a little bit of money by not making a lot of bigger changes along the way.
Yep.
One thing I would add too, just for homeowners who are in this stage or maybe a little bit before that, is, as mentioned, get yourself a good HVAC company that knows what they're talking about.
Yep.
And allow them to have a voice in the design.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
Because I think that you provide a lot of input, not just about how to heat and cool, but also maybe doing things in a different way that can align better with the vision of the client.
Yeah, we like to work a lot with the client, with the contractor of the house, the builder. We can do whatever the builder or client wants as long as the code let us. Sometimes, let's say the homeowner will say, hey, I don't want this here, I want it in that side of the house. But for example, in the condenser area, they have, maybe we'll go into the back of the house so you guys can see where the condenser is going to sit and whatnot. But for example, it's not just put the condenser outside of the house. You need to keep in mind that if it's an open window, it needs to have 3 feet from the window. It needs to be 3 feet from, let's say, the gas meter. It needs to be 3 feet from the electrical panel.
There's codes.
There are codes for each thing of that's going on here. Codes for electricity, codes for plumbing, codes for HVAC. There's a lot of, even for the concrete framing. So you can do things a lot of different ways, but as long as the code let us.
But yeah, let's take a look at the...
Sure.
And again, this is just in the rough stage, so the actual condenser is not set yet. And that's intentional too. Because we don't want to set it too early and then it'll get damaged or maybe something like this. Yeah, so here we are. You were mentioning the sign, right? The architecture usually tells you where to put it.
So let's say for an example, just for bugs and wiggles, we like to do the things how they are in the plan. The condenser can be mounted anywhere in the house. Just remembering the code, it needs to be, there's the gas, where the gas meter is going to be. It needs to be 3 feet from there, 3 feet from an open window.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter where you put it as long as you are in between the codes. These pipes most likely will get damaged in between. Sometimes we have to cut it or maybe weld a little bit of a piece. In our world, it's called bracing.
Yeah.
It's not welding. It's where you heat up the solder, it becomes liquid, and then it becomes hard. Sometimes we do have to do that in the piping because, let's say for an example, this is going to get graded at some point of the project. Pipes may get damaged. It's not anyone's fault. It's just how this job is. And then some contractors, they build like concrete platforms with the foundation. We use pads just because here in Austin, sometimes we are a little bit limited as how much concrete you can have in a piece of land. Sometimes we have to use plastic, sometimes we use concrete. Concrete is preferable for us, but whenever you're like in that tight spot, we can use plastic pads.
Yeah, there's some design things for your condenser spot. The architect usually will tell you where to put it, but it could also be changed depending on the conditions or if the homeowner may want to a different location. Just that you're within code. I think that's an important note that you made. You have to just be within code. But also you mentioned something there like concrete pads.
Yeah.
Sometimes in Austin we have what's called impervious coverage, and you really can't exceed that. Concrete pads sometimes are not acceptable, but you found other solutions to make it work.
Yeah, for sure. So, they sell 3 or 4 inch pads. They might be foam, they might be plastic, they might be concrete. A bunch of different options you have. Whenever you're in that situation, we can use a plastic pad instead. We try to get away from the foam because it's always cracking. So it's either concrete or plastic. For us, what we like to use.
Yeah, no, they're doing a good job on those.
That's pretty much it.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the project manager here. I bet you love this. Yeah. He marked it out where your copper lines are. Right. That way the stucco guy doesn't put his nail in them.
And actually that helps a lot.
Yeah.
I recently had a project, I will say 2 months ago, a different type of system called BRF. It is more like a mini split type system, so each room has its own HVAC system, if I may. So I had pipes running all the way the walls, and then they were doing like a stucco house. So all the, how you call this, the nails and stuff they use, they poke 4, 6 nails into the pipe. So we pretty much had to open the whole wall to brace it again.
And unfortunately, many times you can't find the leaks until you're actually starting up.
Especially in this house that is going to be spray foam, sometimes you may not even hear where the leak is coming.
Yeah, no, that's a good insight.
Yeah.
Wimmer, you want to show us anything else? Anything that we should take away?
thermostat placement, maybe.
Let's go take a look at that, and I think that'll be a...
Yeah, we have one thermostat here. This house has 2 systems, so we're using 2 thermostats.
So 2 systems is 2 T-stats.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, cool.
So this is the wire for the thermostat.
And this is going to your system, right?
Yeah.
This wire's running up, and this is where
Yeah.
your T-stat will control your system.
Correct.
Okay.
So we like to place these thermostats as close as possible to the return. Why? Because pretty much this is what sucks all the hot air. If you see you don't have any supply vents coming into the hallway, that's the purpose of it. You want to have the thermostat as close as possible to the thermostat and as far as possible from a supply vent. Why? If you have a supply vent, or cold air vent, what's near the thermostat, what that's going to cause is that it's going to shut the system before the whole house is fully cooled down.
The main reason is because you'll have basically a really bad sample of the house, right?
Right.
So if you have air coming in that's cold here, it's going to hit that system. It's going to think, oh, it's cold. I need to turn off.
And if you notice, the thermostat is also placed somewhere in the middle of where this system is going to cool the house. You have some room there, and you have the kitchen.
Yeah.
We always like to have the thermostat in the middle of the area that we're going to cool down. The reason why is because you can have a more even cooling system in all the rooms.
That's actually very smart. It gives you a better sample.
Correct.
That's awesome. And one thing I'm also noticing here, that you're not putting it close to windows, or maybe have the same effect, right?
Correct.
Of having it close to an air vent.
In this house will not matter much because you're a spray foam house. But let's say if you have a bad insulation house, you always want to get away from the outside walls. You always want the thermostat to be like an inside wall. Why? Because it's not going to have any heat or anything. Another thing that you're not going to see near the thermostat is that you don't have like any electricity boxes here for switches or not. That also affects the system because you may not notice, but the switches, they get hot, and that's going to change the thermostat or the temperature in the thermostat.
Yeah, because it's already heating.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a brain, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And the house is the body.
Yeah.
It's communicating, hey, I need to be colder, I need to be hotter, and then you don't want to have a false reading.
Correct.
Okay, cool. That's also very insightful, Wilmer.
Yeah, for sure.
Wilmer, thanks so much for meeting with us and teaching us a lot about what's going on when you're doing your work.
Again, I appreciate you guys working with us. I guess we're ready for some more houses, and maybe we're still working with you guys in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Our phone number is going to be 512-718-5068. Name of the company is WM Heating and Cooling. My name is Wilmer. We have some office people that will take care of the calls or whatnot, emails, but yeah, all the information is going to be in the video for you guys.
Thanks, Wilmer, and I would love to do a finished house with you.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have to get that on schedule.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
You're the man.
All right, guys.